Hello and welcome. We're so glad to have you with us today. Let me introduce myself. My name is Dr. Craig Brewer. I am one of the assistant deans at Los Angeles Pacific University, and you are part of the LAPU Criminal Justice Ask Me Anything webinar. So thank you for joining us. I have with me Professor Clifford, one of our esteemed faculty members at LAPU. Just a little bit about him. I don't have enough time to give you the whole background, but he's just got a wide variety of experience in business, government, law enforcement, and education. And so some of his career highlights include being the vice president and general manager of an entertainment manufacturing company owned by AOL Time Warner. He's past mayor of Glendora, multi-term city council member, elected Glendora Unified School District board member, and over 20 years of higher education experience as a faculty member. In addition, we're real excited about this. Professor Clifford was recently named in 2022 as the Glendora Citizen of the Year. So he's been such a blessing to have with us. And so not only is he dedicated to the Glendora community, but he's been a real critical, significant contributor for our criminal justice program and our master's in public administration program over the past 7 years. So we're blessed to have you with us, Professor Clifford. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we start with the questions or anything that you'd like to just share or anything you want to expand upon for the introduction?
Well, no, I'm humbled by your introduction. Thank you, and good morning to everyone. I do want to also say that the only thing I ever wanted to be was a police officer. So this is a law enforcement is something that I've studied and I've worked with my entire life. I was a police officer myself. My son is a police officer. My brothers are police officers. Our entire family are still involved locally in the Los Angeles County and San Bernardino County in law enforcement. So it's something that we study, we practice, we live. And one of the blessings I have is being able to coach and mentor police officers as they go through their career, when they retire, and other choices. So I think it'll be a good discussion today for people. And please feel free to ask any of the tough questions that you have about law enforcement, because I truly believe that it's the best career field choice you can make.
Thank you so much, Professor Clifford. And so I just want to highlight that we have a chat function. And so if you have any questions as you're going through this, please feel free to use that chat function and list the question, and we will respond to that. The first few questions we have are just general questions that have come up from students. So we're going to start there. And as we talk about these questions, again, please feel free to jump in with any additional questions you may have. The first question is what distinguishes LAPU's criminal justice program in comparison to other universities? So I want to speak a little bit to this, and then I'll pass it over to Professor Clifford. I think one of the things I came on as an assistant dean about 6 years ago, and they had already worked on developing the criminal justice program, but it was developed by a team of advisory council members, all of whom have extensive experience working in public administration. So I think for me, part of it is the curriculum was developed with folks who have that expertise, just to pour into that to make sure that we were preparing students for career success. A few of the things at LAPU, the first one in terms of what distinguishes us would be faith integration. So the Christian worldview perspective in each course. We have a CLO. It doesn't mean you have to be a believer to come to LAPU. We accept students wherever they're at, but it means that you'll have an opportunity just to share your opinion on things based on the Christian worldview perspective. The second is our faculty. We've got an amazing faculty who just have decades of experience working in law enforcement and public administration, who can really, again, pour into our students. And then the third, I think, is our application. Focus on preparing students for career success. So much of what we do at Los Angeles Pacific University is we want to really make sure that we're preparing students for career success. We want to make sure that students are grappling with the critical issues of our time so that when they finish our program and they get out into the profession, we want our students to really hit the ground running. So those were just a few things that I had. Professor Clifford, you've taught in this program for many years, and so let me pass it over to you for anything I may have missed or anything you'd like to highlight.
Well, there is a couple of things. I think that LAPU, the lens that the professors and that the curriculum has a different view than other programs. one of the things that I think is important is LAPU instructors, and the curriculum itself is based not just on local but national intelligence, in addition to having people that are teaching that aren't just patrol officers. They're people that are in the different divisions of law enforcement. We have people that are in the DEA, the CIA. We have people that are judges and that work in every branch of law enforcement. I think that's really important. And one of the things that I've noted, and one of the things, the value adds that I think I bring to the table, is that we also look at law enforcement and policing communities in lenses outside of the police department. So we're looking at working with different divisions within the city to help enhance public works and to help enhance parks and recreation and to help enhance city management, to understand what the quality of life looks like, not just from a police view, but from all of the different services that a city provides. And I think that that's one of the lenses here that is different, where when you're learning about criminal justice at LAPU, you're also learning about how to manage public administration, how to do community policing, how to reach out and do things that involve other people that are collaborative, not just based on, getting in a patrol car and going out there and enforcing the law. So there's really a focus on the spirit of the law, not just the letter of the law. There's a real focus on the community quality of life, the entire community, the demographics, the inclusiveness. The curriculum is modern and it's fresh. And one of the things that Dr. Brewer will tell you is that it gets refreshed as things happen. These groups get together and we look at things that happen. When we were going through issues nationally, we looked at some of our curriculum and said, is this curriculum sensitive to what's going on in the world right now? Is it tone deaf? Do we have to change things? And that's one of the things that I really like about LAPU and about the leadership of LAPU, that it stays cutting edge. We make sure that the curriculum is really relative to what's happening now. And if we need to make course changes, we do that to make sure that what you're learning is applicable not only to law enforcement, but the other collaborative stakeholders in the communities that make up that policing product.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Clifford, for that response. It really leads into the next question, which I want to just start with you on this, Professor Clifford, just being out there with all of your experience. What are you seeing as some of the trends that are impacting the profession of law enforcement and public administration?
Well, I think this is very interesting. If you would have asked me this question a year ago, I would have had a different answer, or even 6 months ago. But I think right now, it's kind of like when you have things that are happening worldwide. Some of the people that are graduating from college, that are in college, or they're saying, like, after 9/11, I'm going to go join the military. I want to go out and make a difference because of what happened. I want to protect my country from things. Some of the latest legislative decisions that have been made have changed the way policing works recently. So they've taken some of the tools away from policing that they were able to use in the past to be effective in communities. And I think one of the trends in policing right now and in city administration and governance is to get that back, to go back and say, it's time for us now to change the model of zero bail and of not enforcing particular laws because of overcrowding jails. That wasn't a good solution. And I think right now what's happening and impacting the profession is there is such a need for law enforcement right now. It's difficult to keep up with recruitment and hiring and everything else because there's just a huge need. Every community in this nation has job openings for police officers right now. So the trends that we're seeing right now is there's a lot of more look and see than there is getting out and actually enforcing what you need to do. And my example to you would be in the retail market right now. 10, 15 years ago, when somebody went in and they were shoplifting, they would be detained by a store representative. that store representative would hold them. They would call the police would come down, take them into custody, take them back to the station. They would make notes and have a record built that that person was a petty theft and that we needed to work on that person in the future to try to train them how not to be a petty thief, and work on them in the justice system to give them the tools they needed to break that habit and learn a new habit, basically, that would be more conducive to a positive impact on society. Now that has changed to where the people in the stores don't even call the police anymore. They have a standoff approach because they don't want to get sued. The police don't respond. And these people are now elevating their criminal behavior because they can get away with that. So they're going to the next level. And there's a theory that's called the broken window theory that says, basically, I'm gonna make it very simple, that when you see a building or a factory in a street and you see a window get broken, if you don't repair that window immediately, then you're going to see more broken windows, then you're going to see graffiti, then you're going to see crime, and it's just an acceleration to crime. And I think the trend that we see right now in law enforcement is that we need to change that back to have more of a preventative, life-changing experience where people are more reverent to the fact that there is going to be something punitive that happens to them if they break a societal law. And then once they break that law, they're going to be put in a system that is going to try to rehabilitate them to learn how to not do that again, versus just sitting in a cell and serving time and basically learning how to be a better criminal. We're going to try to teach them how to gain another, for lack of a better term, skill that will be something that is more palatable. So wrapping that up on something that we can talk about, the trends are going back to a more proactive law enforcement. There's still a big emphasis on community policing and getting a collaboration from citizens because they're very helpful in solving crime and trying to make people feel safe in their communities, regardless of all the things that are happening around us in this kind of tumultuous society we're in right now.
Great. Thank you so much for that response and the example you provided just about how trends do change and impact how we do law enforcement. We'll move on to question number 3. And again, while we're having this dialogue, just want to encourage everyone, feel free to add any other questions you have in the chat, and we'd love to respond to those. Question 3 is, how do I know if criminal justice is the right program for me? And so I had a few comments, and then I'll turn it over to Professor Clifford. If you're passionate about diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice, if those things are things that encourage you and that you are passionate about, obviously this might be a good profession for you. As Professor Clifford said, if you're interested in making a difference in your local community and you want to have an impact as well, any other things that we could include in that as we think about individuals, Gary, and the kind of folks that we're going to be looking at recruiting in this next season of law enforcement?
Well, thank you, Craig. I have a real opinion about this. Years ago, they used to have these, you had to be 6'3" and you had to be, 210 pounds and have big biceps and be able to run a 40 in 5 seconds. And, that's just not what police work is. Police work, in my opinion, is really a snapshot of the community. It's a snapshot of the demographics, the diversity, and the local flavor of the community. And I think that the people that work as law enforcement officers should reflect the community's values and what the community looks like. And when you use that as a model, you're going to win. And what does that mean? That means that every human being that lives in a city has an opportunity to be a police officer, whether you're 4 foot tall or 7 foot tall, whether you weigh 200 pounds or 110 pounds, whether you want to be in patrol or whether you want to train dogs or whether you want to drive a bus. Those are all things that the criminal justice department needs. So I would say, when you ask the question, how do I know if I want to be in a criminal justice program and if it's right for me? I would argue with you that everyone that goes through college should have some criminal justice exposure and some criminal justice training because people really don't know the job until they start looking at the impact. And I'm going to give you an example. A lot of different programs require people to take electives. I'll say the nursing program, they might have an elective. So you might have a nurse that takes a criminal justice course because they're curious about forensics or they're curious about some element of criminal justice. And I want to tell you that those students are some of the most active students in a class because they're so excited. They were focusing on whatever their major was, and then they get bit by this criminal justice bug, and they said, oh my gosh, maybe I should be a nurse in a jail hospital, or maybe I should be, it's so interesting. You have business people, finance people that come in and say, oh my gosh, I had no idea the police departments worked on, $1 million budgets and had to get grants and funding. So I want to tell you that I believe that if you're passionate about your community, you want to make a difference. And I have to tell you, LAPU programs are all about making a difference. This is not the university for you if you just want to come and get a degree, check the box and go. This is a program and a university that is going to embrace you in your community, whether you live locally or you live nationally. When we're involved with these classes, we engage you to go out and meet your mayor, to go out and meet your city manager, to go out and go on a police ride-along, to talk to the people in your community. And I'm just going to tell you that once you look at this program, you're going to know that it's right for you. Whether you go through the program and become a police officer, or whether you go through the program and work in forensics or work in the coroner's office, or you might work in the district attorney's office, or you might go back to Virginia and go to the FBI or the CIA, you might go to Washington, D.C. Maybe you'll go take the private investigator's case and work on your own. That's a huge part of law enforcement. So I'm just telling you that if you're interested in your community, if you're passionate about making a difference in your life, and when some of the later questions, when you find out what the compensation's like and what your future retirement could look like as a result of being in the criminal justice field, I think that you're going to find out there's a lot more alignment about the positive aspects of being in a criminal justice program than not knowing about it. And Craig and I's job is to make sure that as many people as we can reach out to understand why we love this program so much and how this program positively impacts our communities.
Thank you for that response. Appreciate that, Professor Clifford. We're going to keep moving through the questions. We've gotten a few, some feedback in the chat, just thanking you for the response on question 2. We will continue with question 4. What do you learn as a criminal justice major? And obviously, on this question, you're going to learn about the history of law enforcement in the United States. You're going to learn about the American court system, American corrections system, criminal behavior, some of the topics. But as someone who worked on developing our curriculum, Gary, what would you, how would you respond to that? It's not just these different components, right? It's really about how they all play together, I think, and looking at, like you talked about, all these different systems as well.
Yeah, I think that you're going to learn about what I call a synthesis of how all of these all of these different programs build upon each other and work together to have a final product of not just being someone who is going to be eligible to become a police officer someday. It's really prepping you for a life of service some way in the criminal justice field or a related field. Like I said before, I've had thousands of students over my career of teaching. I've hired some of those students out of school to work in different arenas. And the nice thing about criminal justice is that it's not just a one and done job. You can work in one job, you can move around to other, they call them lateral moves. You can take your experience and what you've learned and move laterally to other areas and not start over again. You can also change your field. You can go from a city police officer to a county sheriff. You can go to a county district attorney, investigators. You can do so many different things. And I think what you learn is how the three elements of criminal justice and law enforcement work, whether it's the enforcement branch, the legislative branch. And I have to tell you, when you start learning about the legislative side of this job and about how elected officials impact policing and how city management and public administration impact policing, that's when it really becomes evident that everybody should have an impact on their community. Instead of just driving home, going into your garage, shutting the garage and running into the house. I know that that's fun to do and we need that R&R, but knowing who is running your city. I mean, I would challenge everybody on this call. Who are the 5 city council members or 7 city council members, or in some cases like Los Angeles, 15 city council members that are running your community? Who's the person that makes the decision about the law enforcement and how you're going to implement that quality of life issue? That's really important. The good news is when you go through an LAPU program, you'll be able to answer that question. And I have taught at other places and I've loved them all, but this program engages you holistically. It engages you in your community. We actually have you go out. I'm teaching a course right now in public administration where they actually had to go out and identify their elected officials, go to their website, look at a key issue that they're working on, and come back and report on it. And guess what? 6 out of 10 of those issues are policing issues, whether it's defunding the police and the impact that has had on cities like Chicago. I have a student who lives in Chicago right now and is talking about what it's like to live in Chicago when the police can't respond to your call. So what I want you to know about what you learn as a criminal justice major at LAPU is you're learning how criminal justice impacts your life and society in a closed loop circle, not just a one-way street. You're looking at it through a multifaceted lens, not just one aspect. And I think that's the most important thing that you should know that you would learn. You're going to learn so many more things than just how to be a good cop.
Thank you so much for that response, Gary. The next question is, what is the job outlook for criminal justice graduates? And so I'll start with this one, just looking at the Bureau of Labor and Statistics list. It shows that overall police officers and detectives, now keep in mind, this is just police officers and detectives, so this is much more narrow than what Professor Clifford's talked about, all the different opportunities. But within those career opportunities, the growth is about 3% from 22 to 23. So it's growing at about the same rate as other professions when we look at it from that way. I know for myself, I had an opportunity to connect with Los Angeles Police Department a while back. And one of the interesting things that they talked with me about is very similar to what Professor Clifford is sharing with us. They are constantly hiring. They're always open positions, and they're looking to hire folks to serve in the communities for which they live. And so I think that's, and moving more towards really a kind of a community policing model. So those are just a few things I want to highlight. Let me turn it over to you again, Gary, just to talk about the job outlook and how things are looking right now.
Thank you. This is something that I look at that's very fresh. I'm on a couple boards that involve law enforcement locally, and they're police administrative and police foundational boards that have many of our local chiefs on them. And I always make sure I touch base with them and get the latest dynamics. And I think that some of the local statistics, that 3% growth is a little bit misleading. It's really much more than that, because what's happening right now in local law enforcement, especially in California, is that police officers are retiring at a very, very alarming rate because the job's a little tough right now. And so they're retiring, and they're not counting that retirement replacement in that number. They're just saying that's the growth of the job when it comes to population and other things. But I would tell you that there's in California, I think the last time I checked, there's 435-ish cities. And in every one of those communities, they're hiring right now. And what's staggering for me, and I did some research that's very fresh, the city of Alameda right now, Alameda, California, has a $75,000 signing bonus if you become a police officer. So if you, and here's the other thing, it'll go to the next question, but you can do that while you're going to school. These are high school or GED entry-level police jobs. The city of Alameda is paying a $75,000 bonus. Now that's more than some people make coming out of college, and that's just an signing bonus. Marin County up by San Francisco is paying a $30,000 bonus. Contra Costa County is paying a $15,000 bonus, and local cities here are paying $25,000. They want great candidates, and they're willing to pay for you to sign, just like an athlete. You're going to get a signing bonus. You're going to go. The salaries right now, too, in California, especially Mountain View, California, starting salary for a patrol officer is $146,000 a year. That's starting salary. Okay. Santa Monica, right by the beach, beautiful place. If you can't afford a beachfront home, you can afford a beachfront patrol car, and they're going to pay you $120,000 a year right out of school, and they'll train you to become a police officer. Glendale, California, the city I live in, $102,000 a year. And I just want to tell you that the outlook for criminal justice graduates, the amount of money that you can make for a first-time job, and that's not counting benefits. I want you to know that when you start this job has a start date and an end date. And the pension, the way it works is after 20 years or 25 years of employment, you retire at close to the same amount of money you made while you were working. And that pays you forever. So we're in some jobs, like you work in private industry where you teach, you pay Social Security, and you have your little 401k, and you save up for your retirement. In this job, you can do that if you want to, but you don't have to, because part of your salary is they're paying for your pension. So you're going to get paid to do that job. And then when you retire after your years of service, there's going to be a formula that'll get you in the 90th percentile, if not 100% of what you were making when you did this job, including health benefits for the rest of your life. And this job takes care of you for the service that you do. They take care of you for the rest of your life and your family. And I think that's one of the benefits that people don't really look at up front. And in closing, I mean, I could talk about this all day, but there's so many different things that you can do in a police department. It was really funny when my son started his police career. He worked in the jail for a few years, and then he got promoted while he was in the jail, and he was driving the jail bus. And he said, "Hey, Dad, basically, I'm a bus driver. I'm not even a police officer anymore. I'm a bus driver." And we laughed about it a little bit, but they have careers now because they have so many openings where if you go to the police academy and you graduate and you do your time in the jails and you get out of the jails, you could be a bus driver. You could be a scuba diver. You can be a pilot in a helicopter or an airplane. You can work forensics. You don't have to necessarily make patrol your career. So in wrapping this up again, I would say the job outlook in California is outstanding. It's probably better than I've ever seen it. And nationally, it's the same. I would just argue that when you're looking at the compensation for policing in the United States, California is the highest paying state. Alaska is number 2, Arizona, Washington State, New Jersey, and Hawaii. Those are the highest paying, for obvious reason, states, and some of the other ones aren't far behind it. But the good news about this is most of these jobs follow the cost of living. So even if you're working in a state that isn't a high paying state, the salary is commensurate to the housing market and the other things that you're going to do. So you guys can always reach out to me individually if you have questions, but the outlook for criminal justice graduates is if it's not 100% employment, then that's on you, because we can prepare you for this job.
Great. Thank you so much, Professor Clifford. We have some questions coming in the chat function, so we'll get to those momentarily. But before we do, I want to go to our sixth and final question here. And this question is really just for prospective students. If they want to work in this field, do they need, is the bachelor's degree in criminal justice enough, or do they need a master's degree? And so I just wanted to have you articulate that a little bit for us, Professor Clifford.
Thank you. This is an awesome question, and we'll go through it quickly. Every police job that I looked up recently did not require any college education. They required a high school diploma or a GED, with the exception of the CIA and the DEA and the FBI, which require a 4-year degree. Local policing jobs don't require that. The question specifically is, do I need a master's degree? I would say you do not need a master's degree, but you would definitely want a master's degree. And this is why. Police departments pay you for education. There's educational incentives. And when I became a police officer, you had to have a bachelor's degree. However, over the years, they eliminated that. They went down to an associate's degree, and then they eliminated that requirement, but they kept it in the promotability track. So you can move up so far in organizations, but if you want to move to maybe detective, or if you want to move to sergeant or lieutenant or captain, as you start moving up that train, they're going to require a bachelor's degree. And then at some point in time, for a captain or a chief spot, they're going to require a master's degree. If not, one of our sheriffs, Lee Baca, had a doctorate degree in public administration, and so did another current sheriff. So I will tell you that I possess both an associate's, a bachelor's, master's, and I think that master's degree did help me as I was going through public administration. It wasn't necessary, but it did allow me to rise to the level. And it really wasn't based on my, actual job performance. It was based on my ability to be able to sit down and evaluate complex criminal justice issues and have a bigger tool bag of educational academia products to use. And I will brag a little bit about APU and LAPU. A lot of my degrees are from there. And do you know how doctors carry tool bags? When I open up my tool bag and I try to apply it to my business or my law enforcement life, the tools that I was able to grab from LAPU have been instrumental in me resolving complex civic issues in Sacramento, federally and locally. And a lot of that had to do with the Christian worldview that the university integrated into my programs at LAPU, both from a student standpoint and from a teaching standpoint. So the simple question is, you don't need a master's degree. I would challenge you as a lifelong learner to always be engaged in learning. And LAPU is an excellent place to do that because of the diversity of programs that they have to allow you to do that. The way you can start and stop and enter programs during different times, I think is phenomenal. So in the criminal justice field, you don't need a master's degree, but I would tell you that your master's degree will help you increase your income. It'll increase your ability to solve complex issues, and it'll make your retirement package a little bit better.
That's great. Thank you so much, Professor Clifford. The other thing I'll just add, if you are a criminal justice student at LAPU, we developed a master's in public administration that we've been offering for about 3 years now. Professor Clifford was critical to that development. We had subject matter experts from a number of different areas come together and put that together. So we do have a master's of public administration at LAPU, should you choose to pursue that. So just wanted to let you know about that as well. At this point, let me open it up for any questions you may have. I see a question from Diana here. I'm currently working as a judicial assistant in the Superior Court of California. What lateral opportunities after I get my degree can I expect?
All right, Diana, I would say that being a judicial assistant is an excellent job. You'll have lateral opportunities within the judicial system, obviously, whether it's in the public defender's office, the other side. I'm losing that. I can't think of that right now. But whether it's on the prosecutor side, the public defender side, or in the civic arena, in public administration, cities and counties, you could lateral over to assistant, either on the technical side or on the administrative side. And more importantly, you can also lateral over to a non-sworn, because I imagine you're in a non-sworn position. Several police departments have non-sworn positions that you could come in with your experience and not start at the bottom tier. Some of those might be dispatch supervisor, record supervisor, forensic assistant. There's a lot of non-sworn policing jobs that the criminal justice system offers, because not everybody wants to work as a sworn person. So there's a huge contingent of non-sworn support staff which you'd be eligible to lateral over to.
So Diana's saying she's on the district attorney side, or district attorney aide at this time.
Okay, perfect.
Great. Any other questions from anyone? While we're waiting for questions, let me just say, I want to say a special thanks to Professor Clifford, just for his amazing contributions at LAPU. We're so blessed to have him on the faculty and just sharing with us today. My hope is that this has been helpful for you, just to get a better sense of the criminal justice major and all the opportunities that are available for you at LAPU. So I want to thank you all for joining us as well today, and want to wish you the best in your studies. As Professor Clifford said, we're always available too. If you have additional questions and you want to reach out, he's available. I'm available. We'd love to meet with you and talk with you and learn a little bit about your educational goals and what you'd like to do in this field. And so just want to let you know we are here. We are available. Now, I'm not seeing any other questions, Professor Clifford. So just want to thank you again for taking the time to join us, and thank everyone else as well.
Thank you, Craig. God bless all of you.